Hey, everybody. This is Dani Hampton with the Real Dani Show. And I am super excited because my friend Erik Hatch is on the show today. And what we're going to be talking about is real estate teams. Because if any of you are real estate agents and have been on a team or are running a team, or even just the thought of you're a solo agent, you're feeling stretched and you want to leverage, this episode is for you because these are going to be probably the do not do list. We're going to create the do not do list for real estate agents who might be currently working on a team or have a team and they just got to the point where, hey, hold on, why am I doing this anymore? And perhaps you might have signed up for way too many things and your expenses are going bananas. So, Erik, I'm excited to I'm going to have you introduce yourself, just give a little bit of background for anyone who may or may not know you. If anything, you are more known than I am, but I definitely want you to bring the hot takes when it comes to real estate teams and really the profitability that's getting lost right now.
Uh, I had somebody say once that it's better to, instead of being well known, to be known well. And it's always my goal to try to be known well and to be provocative in what I talk about, not because what I'm saying is scandalous, but I want to be really truthful and transparent. The truth is, I'm 20 years in this industry and I've lost millions and millions of dollars and I've made millions and millions of dollars. And it's been a tale of all different things. I've had a real estate team where 3 years ago, I lost $180,000 running my team. And 2 years prior to that, I made $1.1 million running my team. And how quickly tides can turn and how fast things can go, uh-oh. But I've been a student of this game for 20 years. I was first a part-time agent, and then I was a part-time agent on a team. So I was a buyer agent. And then I was a solo agent, and then I went full time into the industry in 2011, 15 years ago now. And then I started a team, and then I got kicked out of my brokerage and my entire team collapsed in 2013. I opened up my own independent brokerage, a Team Ridge, in 2014. I got out of production in 2014. I was selling myself personally, I was selling 150 houses a year personally. No showing partner, no DocuSign, just a ferocious work ethic and an understanding wife. Uh, and then my team
Understanding.
finally in 2014 surpassed my production. We sold 411 homes that year. I was 153 of the 411. And so for the first time, my team actually outproduced me. And I haven't really sold houses in 11 years now. And I've made millions and lost millions. And it's been quite the ride to this point. But now I live primarily as a real estate coach for people that are aspirationally wanting to start teams and are on teams. And then I serve my network at Real, which is how you and I are connected.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And I love how quick you're so able to go through that timeline and being able to go, this is where I started, this is where I am. And a lot of the times people just like to assume, right? This is how you got there. If I have to admit, I have been the agent who's been desperate to be in your seat because I keep thinking about the day that I won't be the active operator role of being the realtor on the contracts, like just truly being able to lean into my network and being able to lead other agents. That definitely seems like something I'm still reaching for. But I also learned the hard way that I lost a lot of money growing a real estate team. And it's something that I feel like you don't want to hear this when you're in that moment of going, I have a real estate team. I think I did it wrong. Like being in that moment of going, how did I go from making $1 million to literally losing? I feel like I was drowning in so much debt. I was sitting here going, how am I operating at expenses of 50,000 a month? That was bananas to me. So, what is a coaching uh, honestly, if any agents on this, listening to this to have that idea of going, "Hold on, I'm running a real estate team and I'm adding all of these value adds." I was buying internet leads and we weren't converting them.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of errors when it comes to building a real estate team. I think the first error that I made is I thought that everybody would do what I do and did and does. I thought that the agents would model my behaviors, my focus, my hyper interest, and everything else. I also thought that they were talented. Now, they were good people, but talent is either by birth or by effort. And sometimes you miss sometimes you miss it on both of them. I was teaching a class right before this, Dani, and I said, if you hire great people, 80% of your problems go away. And I just want to rest on that for a moment, because most people overestimate the talent of the people that they hire because they are hiring them based on what we see in them, not on what they've shown the world. We want and wish and project that they are going to be great. We see them, if all their thorns are plucked and all their weeds are pulled, we're like, oh, this person's going to be great. But that requires a perfect environment. That requires somebody willing to do all that hard work. And for the most part, we are overestimating the talent that we're bringing in. So when I started out, I brought in good people, but I undertrained them. And the reason why I undertrained them is because I overestimated what they know. I underestimated what I know. And so that was problem number one. Problem number two is I didn't give them enough time because I was so busy in my own personal production. Everybody has two jobs when you're running a team. You're a producer and you're a team leader. You have two jobs. And most people unintentionally give their team their leftovers. And when you do that, remember, you've hired maybe good people, but you've overestimated how much they know. And then you're not giving them enough training. And then we rely on the old team strategy of hope. Man, I hope they sell a lot of houses. I hope they make a lot of money. Hope is a great thing to have, but it's a terrible business strategy. And so if you're going to get serious in this business of running a team, you better understand that it's going to take you an inordinate amount of time to train and equip these agents. And the only way that that will be successful is if you give them enough time and you hire the right people. It's the only way. You got to hire the right people and you got to give them enough time. And that time is best spent being trained from you. And so, Dani, mistake number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 that all real estate teams make is that they don't build an army of support around their personal production. Watch this. I introduced something a few years ago called a micro team, and trying to get different language around, because MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, talks about like small, medium, and mega teams. But like, what about a micro team? And a micro team is all based around my personal production. So when I sell enough houses and I need some leverage, I should probably bring on an admin, not another agent, but I bring on an admin. And that admin takes off a lot of the minutia killing things. And they're in person. They're not a VA. I want to be really clear on this. They're in person. They sit by your side. They are an extension of you. They're better at details. They clean things up. And that person should afford you the chance to go and make more money with higher dollar producing activities. So you'll sell an extra 15 or 20 houses with a great admin, not giving more time to the business, but now creating efficiencies. So step number 1 is you hire an admin. A lot of people do that, but a lot of people miss that too. Hire number 2 is another admin, but this time it's a virtual assistant. It's leveraging that first person. And so now you're getting by on a $10,000 or $15,000 a year salary. You're giving leverage to your key person who's giving leverage to you, and you're creating this leverage model. And now all that business, those 2 salaries are supporting your efforts as a producer. Because how do you become a team leader? Well, you're first good at production. And so why don't we keep you in your zone of genius for longer and keep you in production? And now this is where everybody screws it up, Dani. Everybody. And they're wondering why their teams suck and why they have no money and why they're bashing their heads against the wall is because they go and hire a bunch of buyer agents or just a bunch of buyer and seller agents. And the mistake that we make is we expect agents to be as good as we are. I want you to show me an agent who's new in the business in the last 12 to 24 months with as much experience, savvy, or talent as you, Dani. Show me one. They don't exist. You are her. You are the one who knows how to negotiate and navigate the emotions and the complications and the pricing and the strategy and everything else. It's you. It's not them.
Okay,
And
well, let me pause you real quick. Can I pause you real quick? Okay.
Pause me real quick.
Only because this is where I'm at. This is the thought process I had as I grew a real estate team. Okay. So I grew a real estate team 7 years ago on accident, right? Did not read the MREA. I was actually working at Remax.
Probably good that you didn't, but yeah.
And in that moment, of course, when people are saying, yes, hire an admin, my broker in the moment did tell me if I was going to be a solo agent after I left my real estate team, that the one thing he would highly suggest was at least a TC that I can pay per file.
Yep.
Because in that moment, I didn't know, I didn't prove to myself yet what my production was as a solo agent, but he knew, of course, that I needed to make sure I got out of the paperwork side of it. So that was great advice. I hired a TC who was mediocre, and I would say that at the end of the day, I was still very much in my files. I sold 50 homes that year by myself. And I, of course, not the 150 that you were, but I also had an 18-month-old at home and I was a first time mom. But this is my fear, right? This is my fear of growing a real estate business. I didn't look at it as a business. I looked at it as I was a salesperson.
Yeah.
So to actually think through the idea of paying someone hourly or salary and being hooked for what their paycheck was, it made more sense for me to have a TC that I can pay per file.
But you understood, maybe not literally when you were there, but you understood that that was a Band-Aid. That was a short-term solution for a long-term problem.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was gonna say. I think a lot of agents are getting their butts kicked because if they're very good at marketing, a lot of us who are very just highly creative and social beings, that we do end up having no issues with lead generation. But my administrative side, I never wanted to pay attention to, right? Those were like the files were junky. And again, I was never going to take the time to truly, uh, the professional, the admin that would actually relieve me and help me stay in production of a higher production. So in the moment, the best resource I had was here's an agent who is just as gritty as me and she can help me with all these buyer leads. And so, yeah, that's where I immediately went into getting a buyer's agent on my
Yeah.
team, and I qualified the TC as my admin.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Two thoughts on the TC piece, and then we'll go to the buyer agent piece. The first thought is you did 50 deals. You probably paid $400 a file. So you paid $20,000 to a transaction coordinator to be mediocre. You could have paid $40,000 and had somebody dedicated working by your side full time to leverage and lift and support and do all those other things. If the average commission is $10,000 right now in 2025, the average commission in the United States was just over $10,000. So you could have certainly sold 2 more houses to justify that cost to have somebody full time by your side. I say this: if you're going to hire somebody, you need to hire full time, because a TC service is really valuable in support of that admin or to get you over a hump or two. And I'm a big proponent of TC companies and the work that they do. But if you're serious about your business, you're going to always be best with a full-time person by your side. I think that a great transaction coordinator can do about 300 files a year, maybe even more now with the help of AI. 300
Mhm.
files. Now,
Mhm.
this person though, if half their job is TC work, that's going to take them 20 hours a week. Not because they're bad, but because they're not in the same regular rotation of. So if that's the case, that still means that your cost is about dollar for dollar the exact same of what that TC work is. But the extension of that person being your right hand is that much more valuable. Does that land, Danny? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, for sure. And I want to make sure that I'm kind of going the right direction here because I think there's a little bit of the limiting belief of a team owner and truly being able to go, do I even understand what I'm building here? And so I think I had a lot of ways I did it right and I had a lot of ways I did it wrong. And I think the last learning through the TC to the admin to having a showing assistant to having a showing assistant who did my TC work,
Yeah.
I definitely have experienced that micro team model, maybe not the one with the VA that you're coaching on right now, but the idea of I think agents don't know where to actually measure themselves of knowing I'm ready for X, right? Like what's that next step? Because when I have agents coming to me and they're like, I'm doing 24 houses a year, I want to grow a real estate team. And they already have a goal in mind of having 3 buyers agents and X amount. And I'm over here going, I think you're getting ahead of yourself. So
Yeah,
what is that?
it's different for every market. San Francisco, California, with an average sales price of like $1.4 million is going to be different than Fargo, North Dakota, with an average sales price of 320. $100,000. We measure it differently. I think that for the median home price in the United States in 2025 was $414,000. So I'm going to give about $150,000 buffer on both those sides. So up to like 565 and down to 265, right? There's a swing there. I think the number for an agent is between 30 and 40 transactions. I maybe say 24 to 36, depending on, right? But anything from that 24 to 40 transaction mark, I think that somebody should start considering some leverage. But I want to get to the buyer agent piece, because what so
Yes.
many people want to do is they want to now, if they have the admin support, they want to bring on a buyer agent, and they expect, like you did, that buyer agent can do what you do. And team leaders and aspirational team leaders, listen so carefully to me. They can't do what you do, at least not yet. In order for them to do what you do, they need an inordinate amount of time and training and at-bats and resources and learned experiences. And they have to be in the right culture that helps them to win. And you can't even take, I say this, you can have a stable full of racehorses, and you put a couple of donkeys in there, and those donkeys really quickly run faster than they ever have. But if you have a stable filled with donkeys, and you put a couple of racehorses in there, those racehorses will quickly resemble the asses they surround themselves with. And I say this because your culture and the rhythm and the cadence and the energy of your team and your environment, that matters so much. And so you can find a great person, but if your environment doesn't continually say, we're going to be great and we're going to do more than anybody else does, and we're going to all row the boat together, you're not going to get to where you want to get to. So we have to be aware of the cultural surroundings. We have to be aware of the people that we actually hire, and we have to be aware of the time that we give. But right away, that agent can't do what we do. And so here's the bad math. I'm going to buy leads like I've done so many times and like you've done so many times. And I'm going to give 5 quality at-bats per quarter to this new agent. 5 quality at-bats that I know I can close every single one of those. So I'm going to give 5 quality at-bats. And this new agent, they're not going to close 5. And they're not going to close 4. They're not going to close 3. They're going to probably close 2 or 1. Guess which finger I'm going to leave up if it's the 1, right?
Mhm.
And so with an average commission of the United States of about $10,000, and on a 50-50 split with agents, I think I'm going to make them $25,000, and I'm going to make $25,000 per quarter. I'm going to make $100,000 in a year, and they're going to make $100,000 in a year. And I'm just going to hire 10 of them, and I'm going to make $1 million. That's what basic bullcrap math for team leaders looks like. The truth is, if we have them close but 2 of those deals on a 50-50 split every quarter, I didn't make $10,000. I lost $40,000. And that's the math that I want you to sit with when you think that your real estate team makes a lot of sense. Because until they can close 4 or 5 of those deals, you shouldn't be providing them with your at-bats, with your money. Until they are of capacity to convert almost all those privileged opportunities that you afford them, they should be learning a different way. Because I know Dani and Erik are going to close 5 out of 5 of those. And so it's irresponsible of us to give those at-bats to new agents. It's irresponsible of us to give those at-bats to mediocre agents. It's only responsible of us to give our at-bats to quality, well-trained, well-seasoned agents. We take a code of ethics class that talks about how we'll always do things that are in the fiduciary interest and best interest of our clients. Giving them the new agent disobeys that fiduciary responsibility. We screw up from moment one when we think that new agent can be us. Instead, they should support us. They should leverage us. It is a doctor and nurse relationship. So if new agent Jeff comes on board, I'm not going to throw him those 5 quality at-bats. I'm going to take those at-bats. And I have the admin support and the VA support to help on the busy side of things. And then Jeff is my nurse. And Jeff's going to do the showings and the client communication and the inspections and the appraisal. And he's going to run and do all those things. And it's a Jeff and Erik show. It's not I stand alone. No, Jeff's going to get his MBA in real estate working along my side.
And
And
that's
he's
where
going to,
I got the formula wrong. Sorry to cut you off.
no, you're great.
I
Your
think I
show.
think this is where I got the formula wrong, and that's where I was a burnt out agent. I went from selling 50 houses to start building a team, again, kind of wrong foundation, figuring it out as I went. And so went from 50 transactions to 70 transactions. And then between 2019 and 2020, I went from 70 plus transactions to 147. And in that moment,
Made less
I
money
mean,
too, right?
well, and actually in that moment, that was probably the most money I've ever experienced, and I wasn't spending money on my team. I really
Okay,
wasn't. I was
great.
in that moment of actually I was hiring admin, and so I was over there going, I have a marketing director, I have a TC who's also my right hand, so I had a couple of things in the right mindset, but here's the problem. I definitely had the hiring on hope. I saw the best in people, and I didn't protect my culture, and that culture is what broke on that 147 transactions, and then again, I'm in this, like, I already branded myself as a team. People have already visualized and seen me as a leveraged agent. I was starting to get really tired, and I was this was the moment I was also in my spiritual testimony of finding Jesus because, man, sometimes you really have to hit, like, rock hard on your face to be able to go, "Oh, I actually shouldn't be the one running the show here. I really need to be looking at his plan here." But the reality is I was a burnt out agent between 2021 to 2024 that was like, if I just keep hiring, I'll figure it out and I can get myself out of production. And I think that was my focus is
Yeah.
that I wasn't focused on making the best decision to serve at a super high level. I was just thinking I need enough agents to serve the leads that I have produced. And then I needed to add more value to my team. So as an attractor, I started buying leads. Oh my gosh, this is where I got it all wrong.
The immediacy when your value proposition switches from the leadership and the mentorship that you provide to the leads that you can feed people, I think all matter. Like they're all important in how we support agents, but all of a sudden we start spending money to try to feed mediocrely hired and bad cultured and out of cadence and undertrained agents. And then we're like, why am I not making any money? And the answer is because you did all the things wrong. You hired sloppily, you let your culture go, you didn't train them well enough, you don't have any standards. A standard is only a standard if it has a consequence tied to it. And usually we buy so many leads that we're like, well, I can't punish this agent because I don't have enough agents to serve the rest of these leads. And so, like, it just becomes this vicious cycle over and over again. And Dani, you just had an aha moment. What was that?
No, I'm just like, how common is this? I mean, I'm very curious from your seat now, from the fact that you obviously lead and coach hundreds and thousands of agents, is that how common is that? Because that exactly was my thought, was that I kept beating myself up as a leader to be like, I am not holding up my own standards. And then I got to know these people, right? Oh my gosh, I'm a lover of people. I just again, I see the best in them. I want to be their friends. And then all of a sudden it turned on me so quickly, to the point where right, I went broke as a team leader. And that's the part that unfortunately has me as a solo agent with a rock star admin, but I don't know if I'll ever build a team again. And I think it was because I already started to see the weaknesses I had as a leader to be like, I wasn't holding up my own standards. I wasn't protecting my culture. And I think I just gave too many people too many chances.
Yeah. Dani, I want to be really clear. It sounds like I'm not pro teams. I am so pro teams in the right order for the right reasons. Most people start a team because they think it's going to give them back time and make them more money. That's what most people think. The people who go down that route throw their leftovers to their team, and their team doesn't produce like they want to, and they stress out more and they make less money. Like, it becomes a problem. But the people who start a team because you want to impact and empower people and you want to make a huge difference in people's lives, that I can sign up for. That's the kind of team that I think is really special. And Dani, I actually think of your heart is designed to serve people really well and to give people big opportunities. And so I wouldn't count out a team for you in your future, but if you can build that micro team around the larger scaled team, if you can create that constant cash flow piece because that will get you back almost all your time. Wrote a book called The Perfect Real Estate Agent Blueprint that articulates in great detail exactly how to do this so that you can go and grow a really successful team. There's a bunch of different teams that matter, but there's only one foundation that makes sense. The foundation that makes sense is the micro team. You build an army of talent around your personal production, and that will fund the next chapter of whatever it is you want to do. If you want to go vacation and sip Mai Tais, by all means do that. If you want to go and start a team and pour into people, by all means go and do that. The opportunities are endless for what you want to do, but it only makes sense when you first lock in your financial model and your personal production model.
Yeah. Well, what would your advice be on, because I wasn't, of course, that's the same thing. I'm trying to make sure people don't think I'm anti-teams just because I found myself in this season where I had to get really quiet with myself and really kind of find the foundation again, right? Of how I want to serve my clients. I had to get back in that active seat and I'm thankful for that. But the idea of, again, real estate teams are not meant for everybody, right? Would you say there's some agents out there that even if they're doing a high production, do you think a real estate team is a good fit for them? Do you have advice on that?
No, I think a micro team is the right fit for everybody. If you're privileged to do enough production, it is the healthiest, best way for you to still stay in your area of genius. But leadership is a completely different language set than sales. The idea of somebody great at sales being able to be a great leader is like saying, man, I'm really good at climbing a tree. I bet I'm a great swimmer too. Just totally different skill sets. And I think that most leaders can be great salespeople, but I don't think all salespeople can be great leaders.
Yep.
I think that
That's so true.
sales is driven by dollars and ego and competition and medals won and awards sought after and speed. I think that leadership, growing a team, is built around patience and empowerment and empathy and grace and rules. Salespeople don't like rules. Salespeople don't like consequences. Like you see how these two are contrarian with one another. And so we have to be really clear of like, yes, everybody can, if you have enough business, you can choose to go down the path of having a team. But if you believe that it's going to make you more money and get you back time, and that's your draw to it, there's not that just doesn't equate. If you're like, want to build something of substantiality to impact lives and to make sure that these agents make as much as humanly possible, and I get to be a chapter in their books. Salespeople, quite often, myself included, at times I want my own incredible autobiography. I think that leaders want to be a chapter in everybody else's book.
There you go. I had I mean, my ego got delivered to me. The second I put a big giant sign on the building with my name on it. And I feel like that's what got delivered, and I'm thankful for our, Lord Jesus Christ for helping me and pruning me, but I also know now that it's that moment of going, "Okay, you gotta do it for the right reasons," and I think there is that moment where and this is what I hope, a podcast, a YouTube, or something that an agent is scrolling when they're searching, talking about how to build a real estate team. And then having just this moment of truth that you just delivered is, are you doing it for the right reasons? And I think that I wanted you to get your advice on this because I think this would be super helpful for some people out there is the people who did start it. Like for me, I got lucky because everybody quit on my team. So I got lucky, I guess. But for others who might have already started a team, right? They started a team. Maybe they did kind of start that team using that value add of I'm buying leads, I have these leads, all of that. And then again, they lowered their standards, allowing that mediocrity. And but they look successful because they got 10, 20, 30 plus agents on their team.
Mhm.
Even the teams that have like just even 5 or 6, like how do you rebuild?
This is where I get employed a lot as a coach, and a lot of people come knock on my door. And so if this can be of service to you, consider this some free coaching. Danny, let's say you came to me and you're like, Erik, this stinks. I'm not making any money. I'm frustrated. I don't like what I created. I think if I can ask somebody, if you were to build it over again, would it look like what it looks like right now?
Mm.
And most people are like, gosh, no, that seems terrible. Like, I don't like what I have. Then you're maybe the candidate for this. The first thing I would say is don't blow it up overnight. Although you can, I don't believe that just because you can, you should. I don't think that the people who've entrusted us for us to be leaders and visionaries for them, us having a wrong model shouldn't blow up their world immediately. And instead, what I would do is I would get really clear on what it is that you do want, what that racehorse stable looks like, what that aspirational dream is of that ideal environment. And what you do is you first confess. It's the most powerful thing on earth to do, is to confess. I was leading a mastermind last week. We were down in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And I said the comment to the group. I said, the person who apologizes first is the healthier person. And as I've ruminated on that, I thought, okay, there's some real truth to that. And if a leader has the audacity to apologize first and to say, hey guys, I've messed up. Haven't created an environment that's designed for you to win. Hey, I've dropped the ball. We haven't held to standards that will help you to reach your goals. If that leader takes all the blame, what we could say is, hey, you guys haven't done your job, you're fired. No, 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 no. We allowed it. We allowed it as team leaders. We allowed the wrong people to come on the bus. We've allowed for the standards to lower or never exist. We've allowed for the gossip and the bad effort and everything else to permeate. It's our fault. And so the leader saying, hey, I messed up on all this, but I'm not comfortable continuing this path anymore, is the first step. So it first starts with confession. Then it comes with invitation. And the invitation is, we're building something new, and I'd love for you to be a part of it, but we're playing by different rules now. I think that a team leader's fantastic ability to be equal parts Ted Lasso and William Wallace is the path. Okay? Hear me out on this. Ted Lasso is an empathetic, I meet you where you're at. I'm meeting you heart to heart. I don't know much about much. By the way, with everything that's happening in the world right now, my wife and I were having a real tough, heavy weekend. We live in Minnesota part of the time, and there's just all this weird energy going around, and it's impacting everybody right now. And Emily looked at me last night and she's like, Erik, we just need to watch something, like not doom scroll, not anything else. We just need to watch something. I'm like, let's watch Ted Lasso. And she's like, we just finished watching that. I'm like, let's watch it again. And so last night we watched 3 episodes of Ted Lasso as we laid in bed. And we just, instead of doom scrolled, we gave ourselves somebody who's funny and joy filled and empathetic and meets people where they're at and continues to show grace. So a leader needs to be both Ted Lasso and William Wallace. William Wallace from Braveheart, holding the line. So the first is you confess, the second is you invite people in, and the third is you hold the line. While showing up as Ted Lasso, you're still William Wallace, holding and holding and holding. And Dani, you said you were going to have 10 conversations today. You didn't. What's going on? Are you okay? What's going on in your life? Not screw you, you're fired. But I cannot let my silence be agreement anymore. One of the biggest mistakes team leaders and people in life in general make is that when we stay silent on things, we agree with things. And so when we don't hold our agents accountable, when we don't call them out for their missteps or their mishandlings of things, all of a sudden it exacerbates itself. And we wonder, how did it get to be this way? It's because we chose silence.
Yeah,
And so you
I
have
will
to,
say I'm guilty of, being an avoider. Like, I will, and that's why if anybody is listening to you right now, just to the point of, or whenever they capture this moment, is to be able to go, "Holy smokes, that might be what I'm doing right now. I might be avoiding this. I might be staying quiet because, again, you're just hoping it works itself out, like it's some kind of muscle that's going to work itself out. But what you're doing is you're silently lowering the bar,
Dani,
and then
do you have any pets? Do you have a dog?
I do. I have 2.
Okay, if your dog, when you first get your dog, if your dog poops on the rug, or you're like, oh, Fluffy's gonna know not to poop on the rug anymore. I don't have to do anything about it. Like, just saying that is silly, right?
Yep.
Whether a puppy or a grown adult. If as a grown adult that's well trained, the dog poops on the rug, you're like, oh, that's really strange. But if the dog poops on the rug again, you have to be like, what's going wrong with Fluffy? Something's up. So In the early days, it's not micromanagement, it's micro love. Is showing up and helping that person to follow the rules and do what they're supposed to do. And then later on, it's like, you got to meet that with empathy to be like, what's going on? You've either forgotten, which is a problem, or something's going on, which is a problem. But I can't stay silent on it and just let you keep crapping on the rug. And so maybe I didn't need to go with that example, but that's the one I chose, and I'm gonna
Thank
I'm gonna die on
thank
that
you
hill.
for that. Well, I will say, because I honestly, I know that in the moments I had a lot of I did receive a lot of coaching during these years that I was growing a team and pouring into agents and helping them, with their production, and obviously in the moment, I did put on that pressure of obviously adding the leads to me, so I had this added expense, so now that pressure started to really push. So I would say I had a lot of great leader moments where I did truly have those moments of going, "Hey, I noticed that something is shifted and I need to dig a little deeper and see how can I help? How can I meet you where you're at?" Right? But then there's that moment of I unfortunately had it's not their burden to hold that I have a building I'm paying for, that I'm paying for all of these CRMs and websites and, lead channels, all these things. And all of a sudden I'm not even allowing myself to truly meet agents where they're at anymore. Now I have all this pressure. And so all my reactions and everything is just coming out of the stress side of me. I'm sure you see that a lot.
I do. And I could go down a rabbit hole also about buying office buildings or renting office buildings and how that is a doomsday kiss for so many real estate teams too.
Yeah.
But
If
that's
I had
that's
to
a
get
sidebar.
if I
Yeah.
had to I was gonna say, well, if I had to capture like a Cliff Notes version in the next 5 minutes while I still have you, of kind of the do not do list, what would you sum that all up to be that you haven't already said on this call?
I want to make sure that people hear and understand that if you're privileged to have a big personal sale business, that the next step would be to start growing a micro team before you ever think. A micro team is the foundation of any other team, and it's the only move that you should make. So do not build a team until you first built a micro team. And I'm willing to bet you'll make the $1 million that you're aspirationally wanting to make with a micro team 10 times faster than you ever will with a mega team, 20 times faster than you ever will. The second thing that I think you need to avoid is you need to avoid spending your way to the top. I'm talking really seriously about office space and purchase leads. We didn't talk about it, Jenny. We did in preparation for this, but let me talk about Zillow for just a moment.
Okay.
And I've heard coaches and business owners like crap on Zillow for over a decade now, saying that Zillow's coming to take our jobs. I don't actually think Zillow's coming to take our jobs. I think that Zillow is the capitalist and the meth. Why would you take somebody's job when you can sell them meth? And
That's some
I
strong thoughts
I
to
think
say
I think
that.
that I think that Zillow is the drug dealer because we are addicted to the quick hit. We are addicted to the fast transaction. It forces us to abandon all the other habits that a great realtor will stand on. If you want to ever beat Zillow, you have to out relationship Zillow. And that means you can't play the tech game. You can't play the speed game. You have to play the relationship game, the heart to heart piece that AI and Zillow will never touch. And so Zillow for teams, I think, is a terrible choice. People jump on it because they think that this is going to feed my agents until they learn the other skills, but it actually paralyzes your agents from ever learning the other skills.
Mm,
Yes, there are some examples where people have used Zillow to launch themselves into a great career, but the grand majority of the agents on your team haven't developed enough skill set and savvy to massively conquer this industry, to out relationship, to nurture the people that know, like, and trust you. And the moment you get the quick hit, you go with the quick hit. It's why if you ever watch those TikTok videos where it's the homeless people saying, I just want a meal and somebody is nice to buy it for them, they always name fast food. They don't talk about, I want a beautiful sit down meal from Ruth's Chris. They say, I want a Big Mac. And the reason why is because we are addicted to the fast and the unfulfilling, but it doesn't satiate.
that's a way deeper message than if anybody really thinks about that.
Yeah. It, it leaves me spending sometimes as somebody who used to spend $77,000 a month on Zillow. Um,
Man, 57.
Yeah, 77 grand. In 2021, we sold 1,024 houses as a team in Fargo, North Dakota. We had a 9.5% market share. I netted $1.1 million that year. I made a lot of money. That was just my real estate team. That didn't include my other ventures. Like it was a killer year. 40% of our transactions came from Zillow, and I could have sold 600 houses and made $1 million, but I sold 1,000 houses and made $1 million. And that's the story of almost everybody. That's the story of being addicted to the quick hit and chasing after trophies and chasing after things that aren't fulfilling. Right now, do you know what I want, Dani? I want great
Mhm.
people in my life. I want to not overwork myself. I want to have enough money to make an impact on my family and the world. And I want peace. And Zillow doesn't lead me to any of those things.
Yeah, I have to say, so I as we're wrapping this up, I know that the quick hit, right? Just that, hey, you know what? This is a great way for someone to meet someone who they do not know, right? So they're thinking, okay, this is definitely a thing that could solve the problem. This is the band aid. But just like you mentioned, is that this is the thing that will never help them learn the skills. This is almost thinking about like someone who takes steroids, right? To work out and to get strong. And then it's like, but again, they're not really focusing on the things that are building that muscle. And so and to their natural ability too, right? Like, I think in a moment, like, when you sell a lot of houses, man, I think you quickly learn what you haven't figured out in yourself yet. You know, these are a lot of learning curves that a lot of people are not willing to accept in the moment of going, "Oh, no, I'm here to just help other people." And you're like, at the end of the day, I'm like, "Hold on, am I even helping myself? Am I serving my family well?" So yeah, getting really truthful on not the number anymore of the people, but it's just being more about the actual level of service. So what's one last thing that we can grab from you on this call as we talked about obviously Zillow is a meth dealer apparently, which I mean, I definitely can see that. And the best way to grow a team or to rebuild a team is to go all in on that micro team. So what's one last thing that we could leave on this call for anybody who's listening?
I used to be in the ministry before I was in real estate full time. And when I left, I was pretty lost because I thought that I was going into the professional world and the for-profit world. And the examples I had was Glengarry Glen Ross and Boiler Room and Wolf of Wall Street, although that movie wasn't released when I came out. Like it was that same kind of idea is like, I'm gonna make a ton of money and I don't care who I hurt in the process of it. But what I recognized really early on is that my business made the most sense when my ministry and my business became the same thing. I was at something called the Global Leadership Summit years ago, and I heard the pastor, his name's Bill Hybels, get up and he said, "We don't need more pastors in churches only. We need more pastors at schools and real estate companies and hospitals." And that for me is my call is that like this is a ministry. It's about how I serve people. It's how I serve my clients. It's how I serve my team. It's how I serve my family. And I think that more businesses are going to be better off if you look at it, what you do as a ministry that we get to benefit from and we get to have a pretty lucrative career in as opposed to just a self-serving entity.
Amen to that. I mean, that's definitely been the mindset shift I've had. And honestly, surrounding yourself with people. So, this is where I'll leave off with is that surrounding yourself with people, the right people who keep you focused on that North Star, right? To, again, even knowing your own standards for your own personal life, not just the standards of your real estate team, but the standards for your own personal life and being able to understand that like he just said, having that ministry be in your business, that is what has created like what you're saying you're focused on. The piece that I have today, it to stay in real estate, even when it's hard, and be, still being active, sitting at the dining room tables, right, doing the listing appointments, and but at the end of the day, going, this is a person that I get to serve, and even if that moment might be that I'm not getting hired as that listing agent, but actually I got to talk to somebody about their child who is in middle school who is still trying to find himself, and I find out that they attend my same church, and I get to say my husband's one of the youth leaders, like, how can I help get him more connected because he feels a little alone? That's awesome. I mean, I but how would I have not gotten that opportunity unless she invited me in the door as a realtor? And so that's super powerful. Thank you, Eric,
It's a
so
pleasure.
much to be
How
on
fun.
here, and
How fun.
I'll let you go on to your next thing, but of course, if anybody wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to follow you and get connected?
I have it on the screen there at Real Eric Hatch. Instagram is the easiest spot, but I'm on the Facebooks and the Grams and all those things. So follow me there, Eric with a K.
Thank you guys for watching the Real Dani Show. And I just ask that you share this with a friend, anybody you can think of that might be, as a real estate agent, running a team, on a team, all the things. It doesn't hurt to learn these things. And sometimes we take our pain and we turn it into purpose. And so, thank you so much for Eric being on the show today. Continue to like and follow the show. And I hope to bring Eric on again. Thank you.